Imagine waking up one morning, grabbing your phone to pay a bill, and suddenly seeing a message you never expected: account restricted. You try your debit card at the grocery store, and it gets declined. You attempt to transfer money to cover rent, and the bank app won't let you. No warning, no explanation, just a frozen account and no access to your own money. That exact situation is about to become much more common because a brand new federal banking rule has officially started rolling out this week, and it affects every single person with a bank account. This isn't a minor policy tweak buried in fine print. This is a major shift in how banks verify your identity, monitor your transactions, and decide when to lock down accounts they consider suspicious. The scary part is that you don't have to do anything wrong for this to happen. Normal, everyday banking activities you've done for years could now trigger automatic restrictions. Selling something online, receiving a larger deposit than usual, traveling to another state, even using payment apps like Venmo or Zelle, any of these could suddenly flag your account. And under the new system, banks are being told to act first and ask questions later. That means freezes can happen instantly, often before a real person ever looks at your situation. Most people will have no idea this change even happened until they're standing at an ATM or a checkout counter wondering why their money is locked. But today, you're getting the information ahead of time. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what changed, why it matters to you, which everyday actions are most likely to cause problems, and most importantly, what you can do right now to protect yourself before you end up in a stressful, expensive mess. Hi, I'm Susan Harper, and I focus on helping everyday people understand the financial rules and banking changes that can quietly affect their lives. My goal is to take complicated policies and explain them in simple, practical terms so you know exactly what's happening with your money. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through this new rule step by step in plain language with real examples and clear actions you can take so you don't get caught off guard by a system you never even knew was changing. So here's what actually changed this week. Federal banking regulators, working alongside the Treasury Department and several financial oversight agencies, have officially put a new nationwide rule into effect. This rule has been in development for more than a year, and now it is being rolled out to every major bank across the country. Institutions like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, and dozens of regional and online banks are already implementing it right now. By the end of this month, nearly every financial institution in the United States will be required to operate under these new standards. The rule focuses on three major areas that directly affect how you use your account. First is enhanced identity verification. Banks must now collect more information about who you are and confirm that information more aggressively before allowing certain transactions. Second is expanded transaction monitoring. Automated systems will scan your activity in much greater detail, looking for anything they consider unusual or outside your normal pattern. And third is faster account restrictions. Banks are now encouraged and in some cases required to freeze or limit accounts immediately when their systems detect something suspicious, even if there is no proof of wrongdoing. On paper, this all sounds reasonable. The official goal is to prevent fraud, stop scams, and catch criminal activity before it spreads. But the reality of how these systems work is very different from how they sound in government announcements. The new monitoring tools don't look at you as a person with a history and a life. They only look at numbers and patterns. If something doesn't match what their algorithm expects, the system reacts automatically, and that reaction can directly impact your ability to pay bills, withdraw cash, or simply use your own money. What makes this change so important is the speed. Under the old system, unusual activity might trigger a review. Now, unusual activity can trigger an instant freeze, and by the time a real human looks at your account, the damage and frustration may already be done. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much for regular, honest people who are just trying to live their normal lives. Most of us assume that as long as we aren't doing anything illegal, our bank accounts are safe. We think freezes and investigations only happen to criminals or people involved in shady activity. But under this new rule, that assumption is no longer true. No longer. The biggest problem is that automated systems don't understand context. They don't know that you sold your old car to a neighbor. They don't know you're traveling for a family emergency. They don't know you got a one-time bonus at work. All they see is a transaction that looks different from your usual behavior. And different is now treated as potentially dangerous. That means perfectly normal actions can suddenly look suspicious to a computer. Maybe you rarely receive large payments, and then one day you do. Maybe you usually shop locally, and then you make purchases in another state. Maybe you've never used peer-to-peer payment apps much before, and suddenly you start. To a real person, those changes make complete sense. To an algorithm, they can look like red flags. And when those flags pop up, the system doesn't pause to think. It moves straight to restrictions. This is where many people are going to get blindsided. They'll assume everything is fine, just like always, until one day a routine transaction gets blocked and their entire account is locked down without warning. Fixing that situation is rarely quick. It can take days of phone calls, document uploads, and waiting for reviews. During that time, your bills don't stop, your responsibilities don't disappear, and your need for money doesn't magically pause. That's why understanding this change now is so important. The rules of banking behavior have quietly shifted, and activities that were completely normal last month can suddenly cause major headaches today. In the next part of this video, I'm going to show you real-life examples of exactly how everyday people can get caught in these new systems so you can recognize the risks before they happen to you. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life so you can understand just how easily someone can get caught up in this. Imagine you sell something online, maybe a piece of furniture, a laptop, or even your car. The buyer sends you $20,500 through a direct bank transfer or a payment app. You've done nothing wrong. It's a normal legal transaction. But if that amount is much larger than what usually comes into your account, the bank's new monitoring system may instantly flag it as unusual. Instead of simply processing the payment, the system could freeze your account while it investigates. And here's the frustrating part. When a freeze happens, it doesn't just affect that one transaction. Often, your entire account becomes restricted. That means no ATM withdrawals, no bill payments, no transfers, nothing until a bank employee manually reviews the situation. Depending on how busy the bank is, that review could take several days. During that time, your rent payment might bounce, your utilities could be declined, and your automatic subscriptions could all fail, even though you have money sitting right there in your account. Now think about another common situation. You travel out of town or out of the country. You land at your destination, try to use your debit card at a restaurant, and it gets declined. You attempt to withdraw cash from an ATM, and the machine says the transaction is blocked. Under the new rule, any activity in a location you don't normally visit can trigger an immediate fraud alert. Even if you told your bank ahead of time that you were traveling, the automated system can still decide something looks risky and shut things down anyway. Suddenly, you're far from home, stuck on hold with customer service, trying to prove your identity while you can't access your own money. This already happened under the old rules, but now the systems are designed to be even more aggressive and even faster to restrict accounts. Here's another example that's going to affect a lot of hardworking people. Let's say you normally get the same paycheck every 2 weeks, the same amount like clockwork. Then 1 month you receive a bonus, a tax refund, or a large overtime payment. To you, that's great news. To the bank's algorithm, it's a sudden, unexpected change in your pattern. Instead of celebrating your extra income, you might find that the deposit is placed on hold while the bank tries to verify where it came from. You could be put in the ridiculous position of having to prove to your own bank that your own paycheck is legitimate. Small business owners are going to feel this even more. If you regularly deposit cash from customers, receive payments from different people, or move money between accounts to cover expenses, the system may see that as suspicious activity. Even family situations can cause problems. Imagine a parent sending you $1,500 to help with a medical bill, or a friend paying you back for a vacation. What looks like simple generosity between people can appear to a computer as unexplained income. These systems don't understand relationships or personal situations. They only see amounts, frequency, and patterns. And when something falls outside those patterns, the result can be an instant restriction. The hardest part is that most people won't realize how sensitive these new systems are until they personally experience a problem. By then, they're already stuck trying to fix it. That's why knowing these scenarios ahead of time gives you a huge advantage. If you recognize the kinds of transactions that tend to trigger alerts, you can plan around them and avoid a lot of stress. If you're finding this information helpful so far, consider subscribing to stay updated on changes like this. Banking rules and financial policies shift constantly, and staying informed is one of the best ways to protect yourself from surprises that could affect your money. There's another part of this new rule that almost no one is talking about, and it might be the most concerning of all. When your account gets flagged under these updated systems, that flag doesn't simply disappear once the issue is resolved. Even if the bank later determines that you did absolutely nothing wrong, a record of that incident can remain in your banking history. Banks share information with each other through internal reporting networks and risk databases. So a single false alarm at one bank can quietly follow you to another. That means if you try to open a new account, apply for a credit card, or switch banks in the future, you could run into unexpected problems because of something that was never your fault to begin with. Most people assume that once a freeze is lifted and everything goes back to normal, the situation is over. But in many cases, the system still labels your account as higher risk. Multiple innocent flags over time can make you look suspicious on paper, even if every single transaction was legitimate. And once you're considered high risk, banks have the right to close your account entirely or refuse to do business with you. Getting removed from those lists can be incredibly difficult. It can take months of complaints, paperwork, and back-and-forth communication. In extreme cases, people have found themselves unable to open new accounts anywhere because an algorithm decided their behavior didn't look normal. This is why the way these rules are being implemented worries so many consumer advocates. The technology is fast and powerful, but it isn't perfect. And when it makes a mistake, the consequences fall on you, not on the bank. You end up having to fight to prove your innocence just to regain normal access to basic financial services. Understanding this long-term risk is just as important as understanding the short-term inconvenience of a frozen account. It's not only about getting your money unlocked today, it's also about protecting your financial reputation for the future. Now let's get into the specific changes that are rolling out right now, so you know exactly what to expect when you use your bank account this week and in the months ahead. One of the biggest immediate changes is stricter identity verification. Banks are now required to keep much more detailed and up-to-date information about their customers. If you haven't updated your personal details in a while, this could affect you directly. Your current phone number, email address, and home address all need to be accurate in the bank system. In some cases, banks may ask for additional forms of identification beyond what they required in the past. If they can't quickly confirm who you are, they now have the authority to restrict your account until that information is verified. And here's what makes this tricky. Many people won't receive any warning that their information is considered outdated. They'll simply discover that certain transactions no longer work. Another major change involves transaction limits. As banks adjust to the new monitoring requirements, many are quietly lowering how much money you can withdraw, transfer, or spend in a single day. What used to be a $5,000 daily withdrawal limit might suddenly be reduced to $2,500 or even $1,000. Transfers that were once unlimited could now be capped at just a few per day. This can create serious problems if you need to move a large amount of money quickly for things like rent, medical bills, or major purchases. Cash deposits are also receiving far more scrutiny than before. If you deposit large amounts of cash, the bank may now ask detailed questions about where that money came from and why you're depositing it. Instead of simply accepting the funds, they can place them on hold while they investigate. People who work in cash-based jobs, run small businesses, or simply prefer using cash are going to feel this change immediately. Peer-to-peer payment apps are another big focus. Transactions through Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, and PayPal are being monitored more aggressively because banks are now required to treat them as potential risk points. Receiving multiple payments from different people, especially for larger amounts, can look like unreported business activity to an algorithm. International transactions, even small ones, are also being flagged at a much higher rate. Sending money overseas, shopping on foreign websites, or using your card while traveling abroad can all trigger extra verification steps or outright blocks. All of these changes are happening at the same time, which means the overall banking experience is becoming much more sensitive and much less forgiving than it used to be. What felt normal and routine last year may suddenly feel complicated and restricted today. In the next part of this video, I'm going to explain exactly what you should do right now to avoid getting caught in these new systems and to keep full control of your money. Here's something that makes this whole situation even more frustrating. Banks are not required to warn you before any of these new restrictions are applied. That means the first time you realize there's a problem could be the exact moment you need your money the most. You might be standing in line at a store and see your card declined. You might try to pay your mortgage online and get an error message saying the transfer can't be completed. You might wake up to a notification that your account has been temporarily restricted. And only after that happens do you find yourself calling customer service trying to figure out what went wrong. The process for fixing these issues is rarely quick or simple. Most people end up waiting on hold for long periods of time. Explaining their situation to a representative who has very limited power to override the system. Often you'll be told that the matter has to be reviewed by a special fraud or compliance department. Those departments are dealing with thousands of similar cases, which means reviews can take days instead of minutes. During that entire time, your money sits locked inside your account, completely out of reach. Even worse, banks now have more authority than ever to share information about flagged accounts with other financial institutions. If your account gets marked as risky, that information can be visible to other banks when you try to open new accounts or apply for services. One algorithmic mistake can quietly follow you around the financial system without you even realizing it. This is why so many people feel powerless when these situations happen. It isn't just an inconvenience for an afternoon. It can disrupt your entire financial life. Bills don't wait. Rent doesn't wait. Emergencies don't wait. And yet the systems making these decisions move at their own slow, bureaucratic pace. Understanding this reality is important because it explains why preparation matters so much. The best way to deal with these new rules is not to react after a freeze happens, but to take steps now so you avoid problems in the first place. If you're getting value from this information so far, take a quick second to hit the like button and stay connected. The more people who understand these changes, the fewer will be caught off guard when the system suddenly shifts around them. Now, let's get into the most important part of this entire video, the practical action plan you can follow right now to protect yourself from getting caught in these new banking systems. The first step is absolutely critical. Log into your bank account today and make sure every piece of your contact information is completely up to date. That means your phone number, your email address, and your mailing address. If any of those are outdated, fix them immediately. When a bank flags an account, they try to contact you using the information they have on file. If they can't reach you quickly, the system may keep your account restricted for much longer than necessary. Second, take a few minutes to review your recent transaction history. Look for anything that might appear unusual or out of pattern compared to your normal activity. Even if you know the transaction is legitimate, ask yourself how it might look to an automated system. If you're planning a large deposit, a big transfer, or anything outside your routine, consider calling your bank ahead of time and giving them a heads up. A simple, proactive call explaining what you're about to do can prevent a freeze before it ever happens. Third, set up account alerts if you haven't already. Most banks offer free notifications by text or email whenever large withdrawals, deposits, or declined transactions occur. These alerts let you know instantly if something is wrong, so you can react quickly instead of discovering the problem days later. Fourth, keep documentation for important transactions. If you sell something, save the receipt or the online listing. If you receive a large payment, keep the email or message that explains what it was for. If you deposit cash from a legitimate source, be ready to explain where it came from. The more proof you have ready, the faster any review can be cleared. Fifth, Make sure you know exactly how to reach your bank's fraud or compliance department. Don't rely on trying to find the right number during a crisis. Save those contact details in your phone now so you can act immediately if something goes wrong. Sixth, if you run any kind of side business or regularly receive payments from different people, seriously consider separating your personal and business banking. The new monitoring systems are especially sensitive to activity that looks business-related in a personal account. Opening a simple business checking account can dramatically reduce your risk of being flagged. Seventh, be careful with peer-to-peer payment apps. If you use Venmo, Zelle, or similar services, keep notes about why you're receiving money and from whom. Treat those transactions like official banking activity because under these new rules, that's exactly how they're being viewed. Eighth, make sure you're comfortable using online and mobile banking tools. Many of the new verification steps require uploading documents or responding through digital systems. If you've always handled everything in person at a branch, now is the time to learn how to manage your account online so you don't face delays later. And finally, stay extremely alert for scams. Whenever big banking changes happen, scammers rush in pretending to be banks asking for personal information. Remember this clearly. Your bank will never call you and demand your password, PIN, or full social security number. If you get a suspicious message claiming there's a problem with your account, never click links or give details. Contact your bank directly using the official number on your card. Following these steps won't guarantee you'll never face an issue, but they will dramatically lower the chances of being caught off guard by these new systems. But let's be realistic. Even if you do everything right, there's still a chance your account could get flagged. So it's important to know exactly what to do if that happens. The first thing is to stay calm. I know that's easier said than done when you suddenly can't access your own money, but getting angry or panicking won't fix the problem. When you contact your bank, be polite, but very clear and organized. Ask specific questions like, why was my account flagged? Which transaction caused the alert? What documents do you need from me, and how long will the review take? Write down names, reference numbers, and any timelines they give you. Documentation is your best friend in these situations. Next, provide whatever information the bank asks for as quickly as possible. If they request proof of a transaction, send it right away. If they need identification, upload it immediately. The faster you respond, the faster the hold can be cleared. Delays on your end only make the process drag on longer. If regular customer service can't resolve the issue, don't be afraid to escalate. Ask to speak with a supervisor or someone in the compliance department. You have the right to push for answers when your money is involved. And if you feel the bank is treating you unfairly or taking too long, you can file a formal complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or your state banking regulator. Banks take those complaints very seriously. In cases where you need money urgently for essentials like food, rent, or medical bills, explain that clearly to the bank. Many institutions have emergency procedures that allow them to release at least part of your funds while the investigation continues. They might not give you full access right away, but they may be able to help in genuine hardship situations. And once the problem is finally resolved, take a moment to evaluate whether your current bank is really the right place for your money. Some banks are handling these new rules in a reasonable, customer-friendly way, while others are being extremely strict and unhelpful. If you experience repeated freezes, poor communication, or terrible service, remember that you are not stuck. You have the right to move your money to a bank that treats you better. The goal of all of this is not to scare you, but to prepare you. These new rules are real, and they are already affecting people every day. Knowing how to respond if something goes wrong puts the power back in your hands instead of leaving you helpless in a confusing system. Another smart move in this new environment is to think carefully about the bank you choose to keep your money with. Not all financial institutions are handling these rule changes the same way. Some banks are taking a balanced approach using the new monitoring tools responsibly while still treating customers like real people. Others are becoming overly aggressive, freezing accounts at the slightest hint of anything unusual and making it extremely difficult to get problems resolved. If you've been with the same bank for years, you might assume loyalty counts for something. But the truth is, these automated systems don't care how long you've been a customer. They only care about patterns and risk scores. So pay attention to how your bank treats you from this point forward. If customer service becomes harder to reach, if restrictions happen frequently, or if simple issues take forever to fix, that's a sign you may want to look elsewhere. Take time to research other banks and credit unions. Read reviews from real customers. Look for institutions that have a reputation for fair policies and helpful support teams. Credit unions in particular often provide more personalized service and can sometimes be more flexible when unusual situations come up. Also compare things like daily limits, fraud protection policies, and how quickly disputes are handled. These details matter much more now than they did before. Remember, you are not obligated to stay with a bank that constantly causes you stress or blocks access to your own money. The relationship between you and your bank should feel supportive and reliable, not tense and unpredictable. Choosing the right institution is one more layer of protection you can put in place, so these new rules don't disrupt your life more than necessary. So let's bring everything together and make sure you walk away with the most important points clear in your mind. A major new federal banking rule has officially started this week, and it changes how banks monitor accounts, verify identities, and restrict transactions. These systems are faster and more aggressive than ever before, which means normal everyday activities can now trigger freezes and delays without warning. This is not about fear or panic. It's about understanding the new reality of modern banking. The best way to protect yourself is to be proactive. Keep your contact information updated, watch your transaction patterns, set up alerts, document large or unusual payments, and be cautious with peer-to-peer apps and cash deposits. Know how to reach your bank quickly and be prepared to provide proof if something gets flagged. If a problem does happen, stay calm, act fast, and don't hesitate to escalate the issue until it's resolved. Most importantly, remember that these systems make mistakes. A freeze does not mean you did anything wrong. It simply means an algorithm saw something it didn't understand. With the right preparation and knowledge, you can navigate these changes smoothly and keep full control over your finances. If this information helped you understand what's happening and how to stay protected, consider subscribing so you don't miss future updates. Financial rules are always evolving, and staying informed is one of the smartest ways to safeguard your money. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had an account frozen or a transaction blocked? What happened and how did you handle it? Your experiences can help others know what to expect. Thanks for watching.